Hello and welcome to demola. And today's video we are going to be talking about the work-life balance in medicine. I think it's a question that gets asked a lot, and definitely when I was applying year 12, year 13, although people were kind of talking about this, I don't want to spend my whole life studying, etc, etc. And like, if you go on the student room, Reddit, you might not be on there, I was back in the day. But if you go on those websites, you'll see a lot of people asking questions about, is the work-life balance kind of maintainable as a medical student? So I'm kind of here to talk about my perspective. And to be honest, a bit of an encouragement to the people who want to apply for medicine that are a bit worried about this, because I 100% think it is possible to have both be a good medical student, learn your things, and also enjoy your life in uni as well. So we're going to get into it. I'm going to talk about my experience in terms of managing this work-life balance, and then a couple of tips about how you can apply it to yourself and learn from it as well. So let's get into the video. In year one, I was very much like stereotypical, get all your work done medical student. I would be constantly in the library. On my weekends, on my birthday, I'd be in the library. Like every single day I was in the library, right? And it's effective, don't get me wrong. I got good grades, I was doing well in classes, everything like that. But I don't think it was worth it. Like, I remember thinking this thought at a point where it's like, you know, in football, you've got that night in Munich, that night in Istanbul if you follow football. Mine was that night in the main library. And it's just like, is that the experience that you want from being in university? Yes, medicine is such an important course, and the responsibilities that you're gonna have as a medical student when you like graduate and everything is really, really important and pivotal to people's lives, to people's healthcare. But if you spend the whole of this 5 years in uni working, and then you're working for however many years in the NHS, you're not gonna feel like medicine was worth it. So I knew that I had to switch things up when I got to year two. Year two was actually probably my best year in terms of like work-life balance. So this shows I'm still learning things along the way. But 9 to 5, I'd be like library, 9 o'clock to 5, not necessarily doing like a whole 6-hour shift, right? Like I'd take a break or two in between, don't get me wrong. But making sure that I was in that mindset where I know this is my time to work was really, really, really helpful for me in terms of having a structure, making sure I've got enough time to do everything, and then making sure my evenings are free. So when I got home, I was chilling. And I think that's really a good method when you have the balance like that, because I was able to go to the gym, I was able to play football, I was able to do the teaching for ACMS, etc, etc. It was really, really good, and I enjoyed it a lot. When we get into year three, this is when things start to get a bit higgy-hagger, right? Placement just throws you off so much. So like, you don't know if you're in from 9 to 1, if you're in from 12 to 5, if you're in from 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 or whatever. It does kind of throw off your rhythm. So you have to be a bit more intentional in terms of what are my protected times. That, for me at least. So I knew the teaching on Thursday I really loved doing. I knew I had specific times where I wanted to record. I knew I had specific times where I wanted to tutor, play football, spend time with friends, go to church, etc, etc. And I made sure that I protect those times. So when I have those times, I need to kind of schedule in where can I be in placement and work kind of around that. And what I found for me personally was best was just studying whilst I was at placement. So like, maybe I'd come in a bit early. So say if I'm due in at like 12, I'd come in at 9, make sure I've done my studying in the morning. Or say if I've finished by 1, make sure that I do my study afterwards in the library so that I've done the work that I needed to do. And then that meant that I could spend my evenings chilling most of the time. Obviously, sometimes you need to supplement it with a bit of work, but that meant that I did have a lot of leeway in terms of making sure I've done work, I can do work a bit later if I need to, etc, etc. So those are the kind of methods that I've used and how it's changed whilst I've been in medical school. That's the main thing that I've learned throughout this medical degree, is that the perfect day really does not exist. Like, if it exists, it's very rare. Please find me more often. But these perfect days don't really exist. It's rarely ever going to be a day where I've got up in the morning, I've gone to the gym, my placement was fantastic, nothing wrong happened on the wards, I did all my work, yada yada yada. It just doesn't really happen. So I've kind of got these little tips that I want to talk about just to kind of make sure that even if the day's not perfect, you're still being productive and you're still having a good rest. So my tip number 1 is to be flexible. Now, especially when you start going on placements, like I've said, that are quite unpredictable. So being flexible means that, say if you've tried to do this work, it's the end of the day, you're knackered, just move on to the next day. You will be able to find time. I feel like it's such a myth that you don't have time. You do have time, especially as a student, to kind of move things around and switch them. It's even involves like, say if last minute there's been a social that you really want to go to, a good chance to meet your friends again. I would almost say that obviously the work has to be done. Don't get me wrong, the work has to be done. And that has to be done before your exams. But sometimes it is good to kind of have that moment with friends, enjoy that, and then maybe the next day has to be a bit tougher on you, the next day is a bit harder, but at least you had that moment of real rest beforehand. And I think just doing that is a kind of good way to go about things. So definitely flexibility in terms of when you can work, where you can work is really important. Tip number 2 is about taking real breaks. So I like to call them real breaks and fake breaks. A fake breaks is IG Reels, TikTok for an hour. You will not feel refreshed after that, right? You just won't. But what will make you refreshed is you go to the gym, you feel really good about yourself, about your body, or you've gone to play sports, you've had a good time with your mates, whatever, or you've done an activity, for example, that makes you feel good. Whatever those things are for you, make sure that those are the breaks that you're taking, because that's going to make you feel refreshed, recharged, ready to go again for when the studying happens, because you will have to study on this course. So taking these real breaks is really important in terms of preparing you for the kind of work-life balance that you have as a medical student. This one's becoming a lot more popular as well, I've noticed throughout kind of my course, but having a life outside of medicine is really important. Now, what I'm also going to caveat that as is medicine, I do believe, me personally at least, is an important part of your life. Like, you are working towards being in the NHS, or if you want to work abroad, whatever, you're working towards being a doctor, probably for the majority of your life if you're in medical school, right? So, and I know there's different pathways in medicine, don't get me wrong, but that's kind of what most people are working towards. So yes, medicine's a very important part of your life, but it shouldn't be your whole life. So making sure that you do have things that you're passionate about outside of medical school, and that can literally be sports. Some people are really passionate about football, about netball, whatever. People have sports that they're passionate about. People have different artistic expressions like podcasts, like for example my YouTube channel. Stuff like that are things outside of just being a medical student that give you rest, that make you kind of feel like you're doing something, that you're being fulfilled in some sort of way that doesn't come from a good exam grade or something like that. I think having those things for yourself is really important, and it's definitely something that as a medical student you have time to build. Don't get me wrong, some weeks I'm like, oh my goodness, am I gonna get this upload out on time? But I guess it kind of does feel fulfilling. Like when I get a comment from somebody saying that the videos helped them, or hearing a story about how it's made a difference, those things do really kind of encourage me to kind of push on. So I think having this kind of motive outside of just the course is going to be really good in terms of making you feel like you are having a fulfilled life whilst also prepping to be a doctor. Okay, and my final tip is just having a season's mindset towards medicine. Yes, there are going to be times where, to quote Ruben Amorim, the worst manager in Man United's history, you have to suffer. There are times where you have to work really hard. Make sure that you pass your exams, make sure that you know your content. Those will happen whilst you're on the course. It's not going to be sunshine and rainbows, I can tell you that much. But there are periods like that. There are also periods where you can enjoy it. Like, there are periods where, like, not to be corny, but you're on placement, you're talking to patients and you're actually really enjoying it. You're thinking, wow, this is why I want to do medicine. I know that's work, but to me, being fulfilled in that way is part of work-life balance. You kind of feel like, yes, I'm working towards something that's useful. Obviously as well, there are times where you can like go on holiday with some mates or go off and play sports for however long you want to. Those times do come as well. It's not always going to be work. There are going to be times where you can take a break and rest. Typically, like after an exam season is normally quite a good time to just have some break. So it comes and goes in seasons. That's something that's really important to know. There are seasons where you have to work. There are seasons where I think it's good to take a break and relax. You just have to make sure that the timing of it comes well. And definitely as well, something I would encourage, just like a side point about being really stressed in exam season. If you do, easier said than done obviously, but if you keep doing your work throughout the year, it never does accumulate to a thing where you get to the exams and you're really stressed out. I think that's something that I've personally done kind of throughout my academic journey. And I think a lot of people have kind of mentioned throughout medical school as well. Just like, if you can manage to be on top of work throughout the year, the exam season doesn't become too stressful. But that's a complete side point, just wanted to throw that in. So just making sure that you are aware that sometimes seasons are going to be hard, but there also are going to be seasons of you having a lot of fun. So I guess really to conclude, it's like, when you are in medicine, you can 100% have work-life balances. Like, I think I have a decent work-life balance, and I've got so many friends who are, at least I think, enjoying their life, you know? So it's definitely possible, and I think that it shouldn't deter you from trying to apply for medicine at all. So hope that video has been really helpful in terms of kind of giving you a different perspective, because I feel like it's almost like doom and gloom when you read online about these things. So I think a different perspective is kind of a bit fresh, you know? Kind of see like, yes, you can be medicine, you can still be happy and smile every single day, right? So I've been a demola. That felt really weird, but thank you for listening. If you found the video useful, please like and subscribe to the channel. Any questions at all about like work-life balance in medicine, please drop them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer. I've also got my TikTok and the Instagram, both at demola. Give them a follow if you can. But that's been all for this video. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.